Hey there, and welcome to chapter 11. We are getting awfully close to the end of this textbook and the end of this course. This week, we are talking about program evaluation or evaluation research, and just wanted to go over a couple points to make that a little more clear in your minds, hopefully, because it sometimes as we look at why we do research and motivation for our research, we have to, where does this uh, where does this live for lack of a better word? The idea of program evaluation, is it qualitative, is it quantitative? We talked about different rationales and different motivations for research, and we talked about applied research versus theoretical research, which is research for the sake of research versus where somebody is a stakeholder and actually wants to know the results, and how can we apply the results of that research in applied research. So given those two extremes, program evaluation, that type of research, is definitely going to be on the side of applied research. We're going to be looking at programs, quite literally looking at criminal justice programs, because that's the discipline we're in. We're going to be looking at criminal justice programs and deciding if they're working. Like, and we're going to talk about the different ways that we can do that, the different times we can do that, where in the process do we decide to do that. And as researchers, we may be hired by a specific organization, or we may partner with an organization that has a new program, whether it be a youth program, a community program, a reentry program. It could be a school criminal justice program. And we're just going to conduct scientific research to determine whether or not that program is quote unquote working. But in order to do that, we have to decide, what does that look like? What does it look like if something is working? What are the parameters? And we're going to define who wants to know, and what outcomes are we looking for, and what are the symptoms of problems. Those are all questions that we're coming up with as we come up with our research question. But before I get too deep into that, I want to talk about essentially the two times that we do this type of research. The first one is in the middle of the program, as the program is still working, as the program is still being used, and we're going to do, for lack of a better word, we're going to do a bit of a checkup on the program, and we're going to see, hey, so far, what's been going on with this program? Whether it be, we'll use the example of a community youth program. And the whole point of the community youth program is to keep kids out of trouble. That's the generic example we'll use. Well, you know, if that program's been going on for 6 months or a year and it's continuing, they may want to know, is what we're doing working? Should we tweak some things? Do we need to change something? Is it on track? What's working, what isn't? That type of thing. And that's going to go on while that program is still happening. And that type of program evaluation is going to be called a formative. Formative evaluation is the term that your book uses, the term that's used in research. And those formative evaluations are done right smack dab while that program is still functioning, as opposed to summative research. That's going to be when a program has a finite life. Hey, we have a 12-month program that we're going to institute, and at the end of that 12 months, we're going to look at all the data and we're going to say, did that work? If we were to do this again, would we do it the exact same way? It's the program's done. Did it work? Did it fail? We obviously are going to establish those parameters. Like, we're going to ask what good looks like, what a success looks like. And essentially, one of the terms that your book uses is a final report card. A summative evaluation, a summative program evaluation is just going to give a final report card and say, yeah, that worked, that didn't work. And if we do it again, here's how we would suggest doing it. So formative is done while the program is still alive. Summative is after the program is already done. So with that in mind, I am going to give you, just a couple, I think, terms that may be a little confusing. When I first looked at these terms, these are terms that I struggled with when I was first as an undergrad, and I was learning these research methods. And those terms are utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy. Utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy. So real briefly, just to understand, these are the terms that these are the uh, items, the aspects that every evaluation research needs to have. So utility, just breaking that down in the simplest terms, that is, the data that we're collecting, is it useful? Is the program useful? Is it working? The kind of that basic question. Feasibility is, can we do this study? Sometimes people ask questions that we as researchers just don't have the ability to answer. If they were to ask in a youth program evaluation, are the do the children have a perspective of this program and its feasibility, or excuse me, and is it working? If we want to know what the children's perspective was, and then we weren't given access to the children, that's not a feasible study. We just can't do that. We would have to have access to all the stakeholders and all the participants. So feasibility is just, can we answer the questions that are being asked given the resources that we have? Propriety is it appropriate? Are we following the ethical guidelines? Are all of our human subjects being treated responsibly and safely? Bear in mind, whenever we have human subjects, that our IRB concerns are very similar, whether it be medical research and you're giving somebody a brand new medication, or if you have human subjects in qualitative research and you're doing interviews and gathering data through observations. Either way, you have to make sure that your subjects are being treated ethically and safely. Just There's just different definitions of what safe is in those two types of human research. And then finally, accuracy. The findings that we're going to report, are they supported by the data that we collected? So utility, feasibility, propriety, and accuracy, just some terms that I wanted to make sure we're really clear on the definitions of. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out to me, and I look forward to reading your submissions for the week. Rock chalk.